I have another spooky story for you guys that someone submitted to me via DM. This one is particularly creepy. It is set in the Appalachian Mountains. If you know anything about the Appalachian Mountains, you know there are certain things that you're not supposed to do. And this person did exactly one of those things. So I'm going to read this story off to you guys. Sound off in the comments. Tell me what you think was going on. So it reads like this. My uncle's got a cabin way out in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. It's a beautiful piece of property with stunning views of the mountains that he usually just rents out as an Airbnb. After my divorce, I decided to go there last fall to get away from everything. The first 2 days were peaceful. I went hiking, I read a good book, and I cooked some steak on the patio grill. Very relaxing and uneventful. But on the third night, that's when things got strange. Around midnight, I stepped outside for some air because I was having trouble sleeping. The moon was bright, but everything else was pitch black. I decided to just sit on one of the patio chairs for a few minutes and close my eyes, just to see if the fresh air would help ease my insomnia. Just as I was drifting off, that's when I heard it. A slow, 3-note whistle. Almost sounded like a tune. It came from somewhere down the mountain where the forest was particularly thick. My eyes shot open as I scanned the surrounding area, half expecting my uncle to jump out and laugh at the prank. He knows I'm a particularly scared person, so this would probably be quite funny for him. Thinking that maybe it really was him and he was just being silly, I whistled back the same 3 notes. Then there was silence. About 30 seconds later, the whistle came again. This time, it sounded much closer. I still couldn't see anything around me, but I could hear it. So I knew somehow, some way, whatever that whistling was, it was closer to me. I started to get really freaked out, so I got up and slowly backed my way inside and locked the door. I now understood why my uncle had a deadbolt and 2 other locks on the front and back doors. I ran upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and periodically peered outside the window, hoping to figure out what was whistling. I didn't see anything but trees. Next day, I chose to stay inside the entire day and night. But around 3 a.m., while I was sound asleep, I jerked awake with no explanation, and a few minutes after, I heard the same whistling sound. This time, it sounded like it was right outside my window, despite the bedroom being on the 2nd floor. I was so creeped out that I laid perfectly still, hoping it would just go away. Instead, after about 30 minutes of on and off again whistling, I heard a slow, deliberate knock at the window. At this point, I didn't know if I should just ignore it or call the police. I couldn't even see what was outside the window because of the curtains, so I didn't know what I would even say to the police. Ultimately, I decided to quietly call the police and ask them to do a security check. I didn't have great cell service, so I used my uncle's landline phone instead. To put it simply, this was the strangest call I'd ever experienced. From the beginning, the dial tone sounded as if the phone was underwater. When the 911 operator finally answered, her voice also sounded like it was underwater, but it also had a hoarse, almost sickly tone, which was very similar to my mom's voice before she passed away from COVID. I knew it wasn't my mom because she had passed away, so I ignored the similarity and proceed to ask the operator to send someone out to check on the noise. At the end of the call, the operator said, quote, "Don't worry, this person's name. I just sent an officer over to you. Maybe wait outside on your porch so they can find you easily." I said, "Wait, what?" And before I could ask her why I would stand outside when there might be someone trying to get me, the line went dead. I didn't even process that she called me by my name until several minutes after the call ended. I had never told her what my name was. Needless to say, I was incredibly freaked out and my intuition was on overdrive. I decided that I wasn't going to open the door for anyone, and the police could just walk the perimeter and call it a night. I waited all night for the police. occasionally looking outside the window with the curtain still carefully covering most of the window, but the police never came. I did, however, hear a few knocks on the front door and what sounded like a distorted male voice coming through the door. Now, I was thinking that might have been the police, but it sounds like what she's saying is it didn't quite sound like the police. Like, she didn't explain what the voice said. Maybe she couldn't hear because she stayed in the room, but she didn't see a police officer outside is what she's saying. It eventually stopped just before sunrise. As soon as the sun was completely up, I packed my bags and left, as she should. I told my uncle what happened, but he just thinks I was hallucinating because of all the stress I was under and the glass of wine I had. But I'm telling you, I've never felt my intuition scream at me the way it did that night. Whatever it was real. I just can't explain what it was. So let me tell you what I think this is. Now, I am not an expert on Appalachia, so those of you who are, help us out here, but I think it was a mimic. Now, the one thing I can't make sense of is the phone call, because I know from some of the lore that I looked up, mimics can, like outside, you're not supposed to whistle, you're not supposed to respond to anything that you hear. If someone calls your name, you're not supposed to respond. I've heard that from a bunch of stories that you guys have been telling on this app and like Googling. I have never heard a story where they can talk on the phone. So that is where I'm confused. That's where I need you guys' input. Can they actually use the phone? Could this have been something else? Do you guys think she really was just hallucinating? I don't know, but she's insisting that this was real. Tell me in the comments. Let's talk about it. What do you guys think this was?